Hi, I'm Carolyn Weaver from Body and Soul Companion, and you are on week 28, day 3, and we are on the week of Jesus's betrayal. He's in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he's betrayed and arrested. And this is the middle of the night. It's after the Lord's Supper, the Passover supper, would have been about 9 p.m. They go to the Mount of Olives, and you know that he was agonizing in the Garden of Gethsemane. And you know from yesterday's background, if you were here yesterday, that the Garden of Gethsemane was on the slope of the Mount of Olives, and that it was overlooking the city. You would have seen the city in the background. It would have been a full moon because it was Passover. So the olive groves are lit by a full moon. The air would have been cool because it's March or April, because Passover was in the spring. And just look at those olive trees. They're short and squat with silver green leaves and gnarled limbs. And so that's the setting. Remember, you can see out over the city of Jerusalem. And remember the Mount of Olives, this is a good point. The Mount of Olives was supposed to be the place from which the Messiah would enter the city of Jerusalem, and the place where the resurrection of the dead would begin. So with all of that background, let's close our eyes and breathe slowly. And recenter our scattered senses on the presence of God. Focusing on God's presence, remember that He is looking upon you with love. Receive His loving gaze. And with that loving gaze, know that you can relax your mind and relax your body into His presence. You are loved. Lord, we pray that more of our day would be directed to your presence and praise, and out of that might flow our service to you and for your glory. And Jesus, we do pray, we desire that we would feel the sorrow that you feel during all the events that happen in the middle of the night. Especially just looking at your betrayal and arrest. Help us to try to feel your sorrow, grieve with you. Jesus has just said, He's just prayed, "Arise, let us be going. Behold, the one who betrays me is at hand." Because Judas, who was betraying him, knew that Jesus was in the garden. For Jesus had often met there with his disciples. So while Jesus was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, having received the whole Roman cohort of 600 men and officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees, a great multitude came to the Garden of Gethsemane with lanterns and torches and swords and clubs. And Jesus, therefore, knowing all the things that were coming upon him, went forth and said to them, "Whom do you seek?" They answered him, "Jesus the Nazarene." He said to them, "I am." And then in italics, it is added, he. I am he. And Judas also, who was betraying him, was standing with them. When therefore he said to them, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. Again, therefore, he asked them, "Whom do you seek?" And they said, "Jesus the Nazarene." And Jesus answered, "I told you that I am he. If therefore you seek me, let these go their way, that the word might be fulfilled which he spoke, of those whom thou hast given me, I lost not one of them." And now he who was betraying him gave them a sign, saying, "Whomever I shall kiss, he is the one, seize him." And immediately he went to Jesus and said, "Hail, Rabbi," and kissed him. And Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you have come for." Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and seized him. And behold, Simon Peter reached out and drew a sword and struck the high priest's slave, Malchus, and cut off his right ear. And then Jesus said to him, "Put your sword back into its place. For all those who take up the sword shall perish by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? The cup which the Father has given me, shall I not drink it?" So the Roman cohort, those 600 men, and the commander and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus and bound him. And how then, Jesus said, "How then shall the scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen this way?" At the time, Jesus said to the multitudes, "Have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me as against a robber? Every day I used to sit in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But all this has taken place, that the scriptures of the prophets may be fulfilled." Then all the disciples left him and fled. So I want you to imagine it's after 9 p.m. It's dark outside. Who are you in the scene? Are you one of the disciples? Are you an onlooker, a servant? Who are you in the scene? Look up at the sky, see the full moon lighting the olive grove. And hear Jesus say, "Arise, let us be going. Behold, the one who betrays me is at hand." And then look up. You might be one of the people coming up the hill of the Mount of Olives. But see Judas, just as Jesus is speaking, see Judas come up along with 600 men of the Roman cohort and the chief priests and the Pharisees. It was a great multitude. See the great multitude. And if you're one of the disciples, what do you feel right now? Seeing all these people coming with lanterns. See the lanterns, the torches. See the clubs and swords. And look at their faces. And look at Jesus, who knows exactly what is happening. And hear him say to all this multitude, "Whom do you seek?" And hear them answer, "Jesus, the Nazarene." And then hear Jesus say, "I am." And look at Judas. What's the expression on his face? Standing with the Roman cohort and the chief priests and the Pharisees and elders. And then hear Jesus say, as Jesus says, "I am," see them draw back and fall to the ground. You observe that. Why would they fall to the ground? Because in the actual Greek, it's "I am." Where have you heard "I am" before? In the Old Testament. The Old Testament name for God. I am. And then hear Jesus again say, as they're on the ground, "Whom do you seek?" And they say, "Jesus the Nazarene." And hear Jesus say again, "I told you that I am. If therefore you seek me, let these go their way." And see him look at his disciples. Because the word would be fulfilled, "Of those whom thou hast given me, I lost not one." Jesus had said that before. And then look at Judas and hear him whisper to that legion, that Roman cohort, and the chief priests, "Whomever I shall kiss, he is the one. Seize him." Feel, maybe you overheard that. And Jesus overheard that. Look at Jesus' face. And then see Judas walk toward Jesus. and kiss him, saying, "Hail, Rabbi." How does that make you feel to see that, to observe that? That was a customary greeting of a student to his teacher. Let the feeling, what is the look on Jesus' face as Judas kisses him? Linger with that for a bit. How do you feel? And hear Jesus say, "Friend, do what you have come for." See him looking into Judas's eyes. And see them come to lay hands on Jesus and seize him. This would have been the Roman soldiers. So see the Roman soldiers, see how they're dressed, and see them seize Jesus. And then look at Simon Peter. Reach out and draw out a sword. And strike the high priest's slave, Malchus, and see him cut off his ear. Hear the cry of Malchus. See the blood. And then hear Jesus say, "Put your sword back, Peter. For all those who take up the sword shall perish by the sword. The cup which the Father has given me, shall I not drink it? Do you not think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels?" And that would have been 6,000 troops, so 6,000 by 12. How then shall the scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen this way? How do you feel hearing him say that? And then hear Jesus say to the multitudes that are gathered there with their swords and clubs and the lanterns, see him say, "Have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me as against a robber? Every day I used to sit in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But all this has taken place that the scriptures of the prophets may be fulfilled." So the Roman cohort and the commander and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus and bound him, and all the disciples left him and fled. So see all the disciples leaving. So I want you to sit with that. And at the end of this, to have a conversation with Jesus about everything that you saw and felt. And then here's some questions to reflect on. Have you ever been betrayed? Or have you ever betrayed a friend? Ignatian spirituality is all about what you're meditating on, linked to your experience in life. So maybe recall a time that you were betrayed, or that you betrayed, or both. And then just relive how you felt when Jesus was arrested. Did you feel like staying and going after, fighting, or fleeing? What was your reaction in that moment? When Jesus is taken away and arrested, it says the disciples fled. Did you, in that scene, stay, flee, or fight? Take your candle and have a wonderful time in a conversation with Jesus. Be blessed.